everyone, this is ICO Talk. My name is Yelena, and today my guest is Emmanuel Owusu, a Chief Architect of BitClave. Good afternoon, Emmanuel. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so first of all, a few words about BitClave. What is it all about? Whom is it made for, and what problems does the project solve?
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm a Chief Architect at BitClave. We are a startup that's based in Mountain View, California. And BitClave is really the next generation of data privacy, decentralized search, and digital advertising. So at BitClave, we really believe that your data is your own, that you should have control over who can use it and how. We're developing a decentralized search application that helps users to find the most relevant products and services while searching privately and while receiving payments for data use directly from businesses. And this platform also enables businesses to find the best audiences for their offerings without the need for costly advertising middlemen.
What is the role of blockchain in the project?
Sure. So blockchain really underlies the entire project. We are able to facilitate the interactions between users, businesses, also audience finding analytics platforms, search services, decentralized storage. So you have all these different components, and they're really able to work together because of blockchain, and they're able to work together in a distributed, decentralized manner.
Okay, and can you give me just an example of how it all works? For instance, if I want to buy something, I go to the app, and what shall I do, and what do I get?
Sure. So recently we have released an alpha product use case. So I think that's a good example to discuss. So in this alpha use case, we are focused on connecting basically the blockchain community. We have a set of investors that are really interested in ICO projects, perhaps your audience. We also have a set of innovators, so the ICO project leaders. And this task is very straightforward. We basically want to do a matchmaking process. We want to find relevant recommendations for projects for investors and connect them with projects. So how this would all work on the BitClave active search ecosystem is as follows. As a user, you would go to this platform. You'd basically be able to specify your preferences. You'd be able to make searches. There'd also be history of past projects you've been involved with and so forth. So you have all of this data. And this data that the user shares with the network, this is the data that actually businesses pay you for, because this is the data that goes into the targeted analytics. So you're basically paid for using the platform. But then beyond that, it is a product search. So you do a search. We have an in-house distributed solution for how you do search ranking. And so at the end of the day, you should have a really good search experience, but also just get paid just for using the service.
Okay, I see. And who are your competitors on the market?
Sure. So there are definitely established players. I don't know if I would call them competitors. We are basically trying to redesign the digital advertising market. So there's today very popular publishing platforms, the Facebooks and the Googles of the world. And they basically manage a lot of traffic in terms of connecting businesses and users. So their business model is really in advertising, not so much social media or search. So they can be thought of as a competitor. There's also this online ad network. So there's a lot of players in the ad network space. They provide a lot of services. Some of those services will actually be incorporated as part of the BitClave active search ecosystem. Some of them might actually not be needed because we're able to implement it in a decentralized way. So those are kind of the established players that we would consider potential complementary solutions or competitors. And then there's also several companies that are working in the space. They're working in the blockchain space rather, and they're also looking at different ways to I guess re-implement or approach advertising, digital advertising.
What's your main advantage over all those projects?
Sure, I think our main advantage is that we are really doing something new in terms of advertising. So the general model has been You either have a really good content, like you're a publishing platform. This started all the way back with the Yellow Pages, which was just a directory of businesses with phone numbers. But then next to those phone numbers were advertisements from businesses as well. So you basically have publishing platforms. Today it's Yahoo, then it was Google, maybe Facebook now. So that's one approach. Another approach, which has been very popular in the blockchain space, is really to essentially pay users for viewing ads. So here, instead of having a publishing platform or user-generated content, we just incentivize users to come to this platform and to use it to view ads. So we are not doing any of the above. Actually, what we're doing is we're acknowledging that data is very valuable. These companies, these publishing platforms that do quite well today, they've basically developed platforms where they're able to get data from users. If you use Facebook, you're sharing a lot of data apart from just sharing interactions with your actual friends. So what we're doing is we are incentivizing users to share their data. We're also providing controls as well. So you actually have the choice to use privacy controls to restrict access as well. But anyways, the idea is that you have this data, we're valuing the data, and we're building a search experience on top of it. So we're kind of a few steps ahead in terms of how our business model applies to digital advertising, as well as digital advertising and search. So in a very different framing of the problem. So I think that's something that's unique about this project, and really something that's going to make it successful. When you look at the other projects, there have been similar implementations that actually didn't use blockchain. So people have incentivized search before, and they didn't do quite well.
Okay, I see. And now about your ICO. I know you've already raised $16.5 million, which is already very good during the pre-ICO. And I want to ask you about the ICO. What are your main aims during the main ICO?
Yeah, sure. So I can give a brief recap of our fundraising effort. So back in the end of July, we had a very successful public pre-sale. We raised $2 million at that time. Since then, as you mentioned, we've raised just short of around 16 million from accredited investors. And to date, we've actually received commitments for another 24 million. So wow. These are investors that plan to participate during the crowd sale.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So the official crowd sale date, the token sale, is November 8th. So that's the time if you'd like to be involved in this project. Yeah, I guess that's the overview of our fundraising effort. Our stated goal is 50 million hard cap for this project, and I think we have really good momentum. I think that goal is actually achievable.
Okay, and what for do you need the ICO? What are the key milestones of the roadmap?
Sure. So, of course, there's the fundraising effort, which we've been doing since the beginning of this project. We've actually pursued institutional investors through the VC venture capital approach as well from the beginning of this project. So there's fundraising, but then there's also product development. So building the core pieces, really building on strategic partnerships, because in the blockchain space, it's really a lot of infrastructure, open source development. There has to be a lot of collaboration between projects and other teams. So that's really a space that we've been active in. We've had 4 major partnerships that we've announced recently. We have a research partnership we're working with Carnegie Mellon University in a research collaboration where we're developing proof of concept implementations for several core components like anonymity on a public ledger, as well as unlinkability. So these core privacy security properties that enable our platform to work. With Bancor, we've really joined their network. They provide these smart tokens. And for us and our users, really, it strengthens the utility and the liquidity of our token. Just makes it a much more valuable token to have. We've also partnered with Quantum, who provides enterprise blockchains. So they are able to really work on the unique requirements for our project. And recently, we've had a strategic partnership with Papyrus, who's a leader within the digital advertising, the blockchain, decentralized digital advertising space. So a lot of activity in terms of developing a product and really aligning ourselves strategically with projects that will help really bring this product to market.
Okay, and now please in more details about the tokens. What are the key benefits of the tokens?
Sure. So I think one thing that's interesting about this tokens or app coin space is that you have this kind of combination between a financial technology and really, I guess, a proper technology, right? You have this distributed ledger technology. So what's unique about ours? What's the utility? We are providing a token that really values user data. So today, the value of user data is kind of hidden from users. It's really the profit model for these big companies, but they don't, of course, reveal this information to users, and they definitely don't pay users. So we have a token that underlies every transaction on the BitClave Active Search ecosystem. So when a business is saying, hey, we want to find this specific type of audience, these specific type of users, and we run analytics that uses user data, that transaction in terms of how businesses access data, that transaction happens with our token, which is a consumer activity token. So that's a token, and it's kind of a combination of cryptocurrency, a combination of elements you see in Ethereum with the smart contracts, but then this other component of tracking user activity and valuing it some way within the network.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now a few words about the team.
Sure. So we have an excellent team. Alex Bessonov, our CEO, is a former chief security officer of LG Electronics, who joined this project full time and then really has been leading this project. We have Patrick Tagg, who's also my academic advisor. He's a professor at Carnegie Mellon University, who's the chief technology officer for this project. We have Vasily, who's our chief operations officer. He comes with a lot of background experience in terms of having founded several successful startups and really working in the advertising and marketing space. So I think our core team is really well suited for this project. I'm in the security and privacy research space myself. That was our initial interest. That's really what brought the group together. We're looking for solutions for security and privacy in a more connected world. Today you have even your refrigerator or your microwave can connect to the internet. So how do you provide security and privacy in that context? So that's kind of how we all got together. Since then, our team has grown from 4 to 20 team members, mostly engineering, really working on disruptive solutions within the blockchain space.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what do you personally think about the future of the ICO markets in the world?
Sure. I think it's very interesting times. There are a lot of projects. So you've seen maybe a few projects at the beginning of the year. By a few, I mean even 50 around that time. Now you have hundreds and hundreds. So, definitely there will be some projects that are not so successful. There are some projects when you really look underneath in terms of what the product they're offering and the implementation, you have to question whether they actually need blockchain or what value they provide in addition to blockchain. So those are questions that we have taken very seriously as a team. I think one of the really promising things I have received as chief architect is feedback on our technical document. So a lot of people that are very interested in the space, very interested in technology, review our tech and say, hey, this actually makes a lot of sense, both in terms of the technical implementation, but also in terms of a sustainable product. So I think it's good for the community. I think definitely blockchain is an established technology right now. You have regulations boards all over the world taking notice of this technology that basically nobody really cared about in 2008. So it's kind of, I think it's good and bad. One is good that there's a lot of interest. But it can be bad in the sense that maybe a lot of people that are maybe misrepresenting technology or don't really have a completely well-suited product are entering the space. But I mean, that's the innovation space in general. You have a lot of ideas and most of them don't work. Some of them end up being hopefully really successful and really useful.
Okay. And now just to sum it up, just a few sentences and very brief, why should I invest in BitClave?
Why should you invest? Sure. I think I touched on a few of those issues, but I think we have a really strong team. We have really showcased the project in terms of having a detailed technical spec. We are actively engaged in the community in terms of partnering with really good projects, incorporating the best standards that have come out within the blockchain space into our product. So I think if you look at our project and compare to the space, I think we are one of the standout projects. Of course, I'll say that I'm part of the team, but I think this is really true.
Okay, Emmanuel, then thank you very much for this interview and for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for an audience. Take care.
Okay, and I remind you that my guest today was Emmanuel Owusu, a chief architect of BitClave. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch more interesting videos. Bye-bye.